Xenoblade 2, a game characterized by a plethora of criticisms and notions, and none of them are inherently wrong. Some people know it for its amazing world building, a colorful cast of characters, but slow pacing, hype climaxes, and a gacha system, and some characters with some oversized assets. The game's got a lot to offer, good and bad, but it's what you focus on that shapes your whole experience. And I mean that the most when I'm talking about this game, since other people either love it or hate it. And you can see by the title that I really enjoyed the game, and it's my favorite game of all time. Before I talk about my feelings toward the game, I want to talk about the barriers of entry to play the second video game in the franchise, and where I was at mentally before I played it for the first time. First, I'll start with the art style. Xenoblade 2 definitely has that more anime-esque vibe than the other entries, but it's actually something that I've loved since I started the game. Yeah, sometimes Pyre and Mithra's plot made it so I wouldn't be caught dead playing the game on the TV, but at the same time, this alone has nothing to do with how the rest of the game looks and feels when you play it. And everything in this game feels like it fits so well with the world. It was really hard for me to hate. And Xenoblade 2 was my first Xenoblade game. So unlike some fans going with the preconceived notion that the prior games are supposed to look a certain way, I went into it thinking that that's how all the games looked. And not only that, I had been watching anime since elementary, even the corny ones, so I was well versed in that side of Japanese culture and trope choices. So not having the same notion as veteran players and being equipped with manga and anime knowledge knocked down a major barrier of entry that most players probably had. The only other barriers of entry are probably voice acting and the progression. As mentioned before, I had and still do watch a lot of anime. And a lot of anime, if not most anime, have pretty bad dubs, especially the ones that are not mainstream. They recycle a lot of voice actors, and some are just not taken as serious. So that being said, I never cared about Xenoblade 2's voice acting as much as the next person. But there's no way you got to the whole game enough if you think the VAs didn't grow into their roles later on, especially with characters like Malos and Jin. And then lastly, we have progression. And the whole point I'm trying to make with the barrier of entry thing is that any game has certain barriers of entry that may influence how you viewed or played the game, not just Xenoblade 2. And at this point in my life, I liked anime, but didn't play many JRPGs. At least none that was very story based, and it was almost purely action. So when it came time to play Xenoblade 2, the pacing did catch me off guard, making this the only barrier of entry to actually get me, as I would give the game back to my friend after having only gotten to the first open area of the game. Still though, the little time I had piqued my interest in JRPGs, and I would go on to play another game special to me, Persona 4. Another great game with a slow start. After completing this game, I would soon go back to Xenoblade 2 getting on my own console. Persona had knocked down a prior barrier of entry for me, which was progression. Now I could fully understand where this game was coming from and view it the way Monolith Soft had intended it. And now before I continue, spoilers for Xenoblade 2, as I'm going to be kinda all over the place and won't hold back, so you are now warned. And drop a like before you go and subscribe. Helps out a ton. Xenoblade 2 has my favorite world building of any game. At the beginning, you're exposed to the world of All Rest and how you can live on the backs of living creatures called Titans. And unlike Xenoblade 1, there's actually multiple Titans, each with their own geography and people. And they all circle the main goal of the game, Elysium, which resides in the World Tree. I love when stories lay out a great foundation like this one and just let us see everything play out. I was most intrigued about learning as much as I could about Alrist, even staring at the Cloud Sea sometimes thinking about how interesting of a concept it is. They even implemented a high and low tide influencing which areas you could go at certain times. And late in the game, we learned that everything in Alrist was born from the core crystal, and they were spread out and put into the Cloud Sea by the architect, which is even more interesting because even though the game presents blades and drivers as different, they're really one and the same, which is why they share such a connection in battle. My biggest shock factor was first playing this game, and then you go and visit the land of Morithia. Anyone who's a fan of Xenoblade knows how the two worlds of Xenoblade were created, which, and when I say two worlds, I mean Xenoblade 1 and 2. And it was created by essentially restarting the universe with an explosion. Under the Cloud Sea is the land of Mortha, the remains of the old civilization that looks like Earth, and more than likely is Earth. And we can guess that the weird mutated creatures here were once humans from the old world. The game throws in these details so well, and for such a long game, I never felt like the characters felt out of place, or like they were just exploring an area for the sake of it, but that the plot actually called for it, making everything that much more impressive. The game showed so much creativity at the fact that you were living on Titans now instead of stagnant ones like in the original. Even having the Titan known as Uriah swallow you whole, only to find out there's a whole civilization inside him, which I gotta note is also probably the most beautiful areas in the game. and where you're introduced to the GOAT Zeke. I mean, what more can you get? Oh, and there's actually a black guy in the game, Van Damme, but of course they kill him off. The last thing that made the game a staple in world building was, since I didn't play the original, I had no idea about the computer restart in the universe, or even how the games before the Xenoblade series had a more scientific machine vibe to it. So when Rex and his gang go to the world tree, I was like, hold up, this ain't no tree, and why is there giant robots everywhere? It was definitely a sight to behold. Not only does it have my favorite world building in the series, but also my favorite characters, as they're pretty interesting on their own, but for the most part, how they interact with each other is the most special part. First, we got Rex as our protagonist. He's a salvager, which I honestly didn't know what this was until I played this game. I just remember that one guy from the SpongeBob movie. What I like about Rex is, unlike a lot of main characters that are already established in their worlds, we find Rex is still trying to find his place and identity, trying to make money and find an honest living, which is something really relatable to many people. And in doing so, it makes sense that he would try to take up any job he can get some extra coin. He ends up meeting Torna, the evil group of Xenoblade 2, and gets backdoored beyond belief, but this leads him to meeting this girl named Pyra, the Aegis, and he promises to take her to Elysium. And even though you could say Rex was being a simp, especially with the scene of him sitting in her lap, looking past all the tropes, Pyra waking him up did save his life, so he was kinda indebted to her. Rex shows his strong desire throughout the game to protect his friends and wants everybody to be happy, really being the glue to the whole party, but not just because he's the protagonist like in Xenoblade 1 or other JRPGs, but because he actually cares about each and every one of them on an individual level, as I'm sure the game didn't put all these individual moments between him and all the characters for no reason, whether serious or not. His bad quality is he's a little naive, but then again, he is just a salvager and had no intentions of exploring the whole world, at least not in that short amount of time. So you can give him some credit in the fact that he adapts really fast. And honestly, I think they picked the best main character for the game. I really couldn't see anybody else doing it. His smile and reassurance that everything would be okay even made me happy, because even when the odds seemed impossible, bro's gonna rise up. He is a Chad after all. And of course I can't talk about Rex and not bring up the Aegis. I'm gonna go ahead and say I prefer Pyra over Mythra. There's just something about Pyra's more calm nature that made her seem to be basically the most down-to-earth character in the whole game, despite her appearance and abilities. And she acts as Rex's caretaker, almost like a loving wife even before their romance truly starts. Then you have Mythra, someone who wasn't very fond of Rex at first. She's very headstrong and cocky due to her power and experience, and is apparently the original form of the Aegis. I should note here, I know some about Torna, but I didn't play it, so there's a lot more to her character I sadly didn't get to experience yet, but I will in the future for sure. All I know is that her past driver Adam was a prince, and his fear of her power influenced her decision to seal herself in Pyra. He wasn't wrong, because Mythra is very powerful, in the story and in combat. Actually very powerful in combat. And I think the game did this so you could have more playing time with her, honestly, because up until this point, you played with Pyra for damn near 20 hours. She's also kind of a tsundere, and yeah, that trope can get very annoying fast. But when she gets serious, she can be a good character. But my favorite character in the whole game has to be Nia. I don't know what it was, but playing Xenoblade 2, I genuinely fell in love with this character. She looks like a cat due to her being the Gormati race, and their accents are actually amazing, which I guess you could say is another bonus of the English dub of the game. All the different accents really give the game life. In combat, she stayed in my party all the time, mostly due to her healing, being a pretty good support character. The way her and Rex interact would legit have me rolling sometimes, but they also have pretty serious moments in heart-to-hearts. And her role and personality are very consistent through the whole game. She's a flesh eater, which has a weird but cool concept to me. And long story short, for a refresher, a flesh eater is when a blade eats a person and takes their essence, essentially fusing with them. Nia was a blade, and her master, being the governor, had a daughter who was very ill. Nia regarded this girl as her sister, and in the end, didn't mind becoming one with her to honor her fate. Her master also died, and she inherited his blade, Dromark's. So it makes sense why Nia and Dromark have kind of this more family acting bond, and the attention of detail of her character was amazing. She's definitely somebody's favorite at Monolith Soft for sure. They even spiced it up more by giving her a whole ass transformation and some of the most top tier powers in the whole verse, with insane healing abilities in this form, as well as insane water control, making her the only character you can use as a blade as well as a party member as you so choose. So yeah, there's definitely reasons why she's my favorite. They really put sauce on her. Then we got Morag, and she's like Riki to me in Xenoblade 1. If you watch my Xenoblade 1 video, you know I always have that one party member that I'm just not fond of, and it's for no reason. It's just I wasn't paying attention to them. I never used her in combat, though I bet she was probably pretty good. But Nia and Tora was really all I needed, so I never changed them. She's the Inquisitor of the biggest Titan located in Morardain. And usually, I don't like desert areas in video games, but man, they did this right. One thing I do like about her is her connection with the blade Bridget. Bridget's design is really pleasing to look at, and she complements Morak so well. But yeah, not a bad character. She just wasn't really on my radar like that. Then we got my dog Zeke. This man is tough. He randomly pops up in the beginning, and it's so easy to think, look at this corny character, until you fight him, and you hear his OST.
Let's show him a thing or three.
And honestly, that makes up for anything he could have said or did. He's the Crown Prince of Tantal, one of the most gorgeous places in Xenoblade. I explored so much of this area, it's not even funny. It's just so beautiful. And Zeke is a very powerful party member, in the story and in gameplay. He's also a blade eater, having half his blade Pandoria's crystal embedded in him. Which I guess I'll say here, Rex really had no normal party members in this whole entire game. The only normal one was probably Morag, and even she's a damn Inquisitor, so he was really moving around with big shots. Despite how comic relief Zeke can be, when he's serious, he's probably one of the more emotionally mature characters in the game, and even though he tries to hide it, he's a great leader and deserves to be Prince, even rising up and questioning the wrongdoings of Alrest despite what he had been taught growing up. And next, we got Tora, a very, very interesting non-pawn, who is a freak.
Poppy?
How may I be of service, master?
Bro's an absolute freak, bruh. Like, I don't even want to know what he was having Poppy do before Rex walked in. But anyways, Tora is a character who is very annoying, but if he wasn't in the game, it just wouldn't feel right. He's the game's genius and mechanical character, and very powerful gameplay wise. Tanks in other Xenoblade games pale in comparison to how good of an aggro tank Tora was. He has loads of HP and can take a lot of attacks, but also can fight pretty good as well, especially if you get the final upgrade for Poppy, which is optional. Some of his moments in the game genuinely had me rolling, and he seems to top them every time. All these characters are very special to me, and I'm glad I got to go on almost an 80-hour plus journey with them. But now that we got the main party out the way, we gotta talk about the villains. Because in a game where there's great characters, there's gotta be great villains. Malos and Jin are pretty much the game's poster villains from the start. Malos is essentially this twisted dark version of the Aegis who lost his way of life. And Jin is basically a lovesick blade, whose previous driver died. He ate her and became a flesh eater. And together, Jin and Malos wanted to destroy Alrest, as they kinda shared the same goal to stop the Architect, as they blame him for all the misfortune that happened in their lives. Jin, in my opinion, was the cooler of the two, as Malos was very full of himself and kinda looks like a Disney bully. And I'm kinda about to glaze, but look at his fit. Jin's fit is so tough. Almost rage quit the game though when these two paired up. And not only that, at this point in the game, they take Pyra and Mithra from you. I was forced to go grind and use this game's gacha system to come back and fight them, just to still get whooped. It took hours to come out on top. This fight was so painful. And then there's the final fight with Malos in the World Tree, and his speech before he fights you is amazing. He tells you to just accept that he can't be changed, as he truly believed that he was born just to destroy the world. And Rex and his friends were the only ones that could stop him. And also, this giant mech is really cool. I didn't expect to be fighting this when I pressed start game all them hours ago. I also know that there's more members of Torna, but they didn't leave a lasting impact like Jin and Malos did. But everybody knows the real antagonist of this game, however, wasn't either of these two, but a character known as Amalthus. This bastard is responsible for all the events that take place in this game pretty much. He was the first to be able to climb the world tree, and with malice in his heart, awaken the blade Malos, which explains why he's so evil due to Amalthus' true nature affecting him. Mithra was awakened by Adam to be a direct counter to Malos. Amalthus acts as a religious leader, but he really has sly intentions. And boy, I was happy when Jin finally packed him up, even though it sadly cost Jin's life, but it all wrapped up so well. All the characters of this game and how they interact with the world is so good. Seems like there's never a dull moment with any character, and almost everything comes full circle at the end. It's crazy how Elysium all along was just a dream that Pyra and Mithra had, and when you finally find it, it's really just a barren wasteland. And I forgot to mention what I thought about the form Numa, which is a combination of Pyra and Mithra. And I can really chalk this up to being more like a wow factor to me. And the game did a really good job of making them broken, but for a limited time. because if you were able to use them the whole time, oh my goodness, they do damage for days. Numa's personality seems to be more Pyra than Mythra, but a little bit of sprinkling Mythra's serious traits, which easily comes out when you fuse because you know it's time to get serious. All the characters by the end really seem like one big family as you go through many hardships and exciting moments together with these characters. And honestly never got old to me, and this amazing world kept that sense of progression, even if you know you're only halfway through the story. But I won't deny, in the beginning, it can be very slow. But I don't think it's the pacing that turns players off itself, but the horrible tutorial. This shit is honestly ass, and just confuses you the more you play the game. You're better off watching a YouTube video of someone simplifying the combat for you because it's honestly not that hard to grasp, but the game makes it that way. I will say I did enjoy the combat of this entry more than Xenoblade 1. The amount of customization, while overwhelming at times, helps you in the long run. It makes for fun and different styles of gameplay. And the side quests were better too, having more recognizable quest chains that would be somewhat addictive, especially if you needed more EXP. Though the gacha system did annoy me a bit, and I wish there was more ways to just get more guaranteed blades. I never tried to 100% the game, but for the people that did, I know it was probably frustrating, but hopefully worth it to try to get all the blades. Even with these small gripes I have, however, the game makes everything easy to follow and understand. Except for the combat, that is. And I didn't have to do a bunch of unnecessary menuing like I do in other JRPGs. I found everything quickly, and it doesn't take 2 years just to equip an item or change it out, which helps a ton with how long this game is. The story and art stuck with me, and had me thirsting for more after I completed the game, making me cry a few times, and binge watching other people's reactions to my favorite part of the story. It was truly one of a kind, with a top 5 soundtrack and a unique charm I didn't get from any other game at the time. My opinion could have easily been different if I played the first game first, or experienced many more JRPGs prior, but this is what I went with and I'm glad I did. I will then go on to play many more JRPGs and now I'm talking about them. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe for more content. I'm already working on that Xenoblade 3 video, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying my gaming opinions. Shout out to y'all. Love y'all, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.